I was talking about a podcast that I did earlier, but then what about independent publishing? But then we had this great event that we did with Diesel as a joint event that we did. Independent bookstores talk about independent publishing, and we did it with he's now working for Diesel as a bookseller, but I worked with him at Barnes and Noble, and he's a very niche publisher, Kenneth Kale's Press. And what he produces some beautiful items, but he produces like 6 titles a year. So we did this. So after that podcast, we did this great, like, what independent publishing is, because it's a lot of stuff has changed. I have to admit, he taught me a lot of things have changed in the publishing world in the last couple of years, especially. And I didn't record it. So you know how I just hit record right now? Because it was just a Zoom event. It wasn't out on Facebook. And it was like the most informative. John at Diesel did this great interview. It was this fabulous thing. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't hit record. I was just like, God help me. So anyways, I'm
afraid I believe it.
I know.
Don't throw me a softball, Jules. Don't throw me a softball.
Out of the park, Gabe, as always. Out of the.
Don't gift wrap them.
It's gift wrapped just for you. Thank you very much.
No, we're on autopilot all the time. It's just like I get on the car and I'm driving, and Deborah's like, "Where are we going?" I'm like, "The other way."
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. It was just, and we
got like,
Yeah, and the problem was we were in this great conversation, kind of like we were before this, and I was just like, and I knew it was going to be a great, and I can't wait. So we're going to do part 2 in September when he has another book out. So
great, and you'll record that one.
Oh, hopefully,
write it on your hand.
I don't know. I can't predict what I will do. Anything. I can't predict anything. All right, great releases this week. Busy week of releases. So let's get started because I think we got a lot. So it's going to go Steve, Tom, Gabe, Amanda. Amanda's just back from Hawaii. She's got that Hawaii picture in the background, making us all jealous.
This is one I took from my hotel.
Yeah, just a little jealous.
This is the sunset from my hotel.
Thanks a lot. We're
Wow.
Well, I might have to delete you. I don't know. I'm teasing.
Whoops, we lost Amanda.
Whoops. Don't know what happened to Amanda.
Where I stayed. And my glorious, you can't really see it in this light, but my glorious tan from being on the beach and by the pool.
Okay, wait. Where's mute? Where's the mute button?
Enough already, Amanda. Steve, I think it's your turn.
Steve. Okay. All right, Steve. There you go. All right, take it away. Oh, we can't hear you, Steve. Nope. You're not on mute, so I'm not.
How about now?
Yeah, we can.
I muted myself accidentally. It happens. Okay, I'm so excited to tell you about this first book. I've been talking about it for months with booksellers, and it comes out tomorrow. It's Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. And this, among booksellers, this has been one of the favorites that's coming out this season. People love this book and can't wait to tell somebody else about it. It's that kind of a book. The author she's in her 60s. This is her debut novel. She's a copy editor. And this is just so brilliant in so many ways. It's funny, it's touching, it's sad in parts, deep meaning, and it's really a delight to read. It's set in the 50s and late 50s and in the 60s. And the main character is, her name is Elizabeth Zott. And she is just one of those literary characters who I think people will be talking about, like Bernadette or Eleanor Oliphant for many years to come. And she's a scientist, and she's a woman who will not stay in her place or dumb herself down to fit into the boys' club. And she's smarter than any other scientists in the research facility she works at, and it eventually leads to her being fired from this lab. And she has a young child and a marvelous dog to take care of named 630, who has a great voice in the book. And she is asked to do an afternoon cooking show. It's funny that this book is coming out just at the same time the Julia Child miniseries is coming out. But so she needs to do this to support herself and her daughter. And what she does on this show is she teaches her all-female audience that cooking is chemistry, and chemistry has changed. And armed with that understanding, housewives can change the world. So it's just got a great cast of characters, starting with Elizabeth, but there's the love of her life. His name is Calvin, a fellow scientist who gets her into rowing, competitive rowing. There's her nosy neighbor, Harriet, who's got problems of her own. There's this atheist minister. There's just these great characters. And as I mentioned, this fantastic dog named 630. So it's getting great reviews already. It's, like I say, it's just a delight to read. And I can't wait for people to start reading it, and then I'm sure you'll all be giving it to friends to read. It's that kind of book.
I was in the store last week, and Adrian and Stacy could not stop talking about it. And Stacy's a very, very particular reader. I mean, she doesn't read because she's the children's writer. So her main reading is always kids' books. So when it's an adult book, it's something, usually something special, especially when she likes it. And it's like, she could not, she's like, Julie, you just have to read this. And so I'm just going to say something else, that just remember that you heard it here first too. Just saying that.
Good.
Yeah, that's right. On tea time.
Independent bookstores are kind of like, we got the edge on things. So
That's right.
I think that is going to be one of those books that people will be talking about
All summer long, I think. I think I heard her on weekend edition this weekend.
Yeah, she was on
great
weekend
interview.
edition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, good one, Steve. Yep, like I said, I mean, I can't wait for all of your picks this week, because they're just, I know that they're all
Yeah,
gonna
it's a
be
great week.
fantastic. All right, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, now I'm going to share a screen, but I'm disabled.
Oh, wait. No, sorry, I didn't do that for you. See what I forget to do?
Don't put
Gabe,
obstacles in my way,
slap me
Julie.
around,
I'm not
Gabe.
good at this screen sharing.
Gabe's got to slap me around. Now you should be able to do it.
Okay, here we go. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it's this never happens, but it can only happen with a new book from Ocean Vuong, where my biggest book of the week and of the month and maybe of the year is a book of poetry. So that's what we have here, Time as a Mother by Ocean Vuong. So his first collection was called Night Sky with Exit Wounds, which was a New York Times top 10 book of 2016, won all sorts of awards. And it sold a book of poetry from a smaller press, sold over 100,000 copies.
Wow.
And then he followed that up with his first novel from us, Penguin Press, on Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, which was a big bestseller, New York Times bestseller. And we've sold over 300,000 copies of that. And so I love it that he's following up the novel with his next collection of poetry. And it is definitely going to be a major bestseller. We did a pre-order campaign with signed books, and it's possible that Warwick's might have a few signed books left. But it was an immediate hit. This was a pre-order campaign that really worked. People were ordering it around the country. So it's a collection of the poems that he wrote primarily after the novel, and it is dealing in a major way, most primarily with the death of his mother, with the grief following the death of his mother. So it's moving, but there's humor in these poems that is a little bit unexpected, I felt like. So if you are a fan of poetry or are interested in what's happening in poetry today, there's no better, poet right now than Ocean Vuong to find out what is happening. It's beautiful, beautifully designed, gorgeous book. Speaking of this weekend on NPR, he did just an absolutely mesmerizing, moving interview that I highly recommend. I think it was Saturday weekend edition. And it was, he's one of those people that every word out of his mouth is almost like poetry. So it's just like you hang on his every word. So just really excited, and it's a real literary event to have a new collection of poetry from Ocean Vuong.
And poetry during the pandemic had this surge of popularity that people found a lot of comfort in it.
Yeah.
And he's just a master. I mean, you can put him up with any of the top poets out there. And
yeah. It's really an heir. I mean, certainly, so Penguin Press was the publisher at the end of her life of Mary Oliver. And so this, to me, at least for us, we're continuing in that kind of, and it's very different. There's a lot.
Right.
But
Different poetry, but still that level of poet. And Liz Campion is on with us. Hi, Liz.
oh, and she is our resident poet.
And she says,
poetry
"Yay,
lover.
Tom! Ocean is full out genius," is what she said.
I love it. Well, and I was going to say one thing that he said in the interview that really struck me was, we all have either lost our mother or will lose our mother, and so it's a point, like, as just divided as we are. He saw that he sees that as a way we're all connected, which I thought was a very interesting way to think about the world. So
yeah, no, he is, and I had the pleasure when we go to the book conferences like Winter Institute or Book Expo, you publishers invite us booksellers to wonderful dinners, and Ocean was my table partner at a dinner, and he's so soft. So imagine me with this soft-spoken
Yes.
Ocean view. I mean, but he is just a delight. I mean, he truly is. So love everything about him. So buy that book, give it as gifts, Mother's Day gifts.
that's right. Perfect gift for all
Perfect
sorts
gift
of
for Mother's
upcoming
Day.
holidays.
Yeah. So anyway,
And then of course we're in National Poetry Month just beginning.
there you go. And that's what happened. We talk about publishing. Seems like the first week of the month now is just jammed for a number of reasons that I know, but it's just like so this week is one of them. So okay, Gabe, take it away.
I'm gonna take it away. Take it
Your
far away.
turn.
Take you far, far away. So my first treat today is a novel I've been talking about for a long time. I think there's recordings of me talking about this book like in sometime last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a book that it's a really unique take on the vampire trope. She really takes the vampire world and makes it her own. Claire is a young British writer, and like really young. And this imagining, this world she creates, and this character she creates, particularly Lydia. So Lydia moves away from home. She's been living at home with her mom forever, and and it's the first time she's living alone. She's a few hundred years old at this point, right? She's not a baby, but she's young, and she moves to London, and she's artistically inclined, and she wants to be an artist, and she moves to London, and the usual, 20-something pilgrimage to New York City or to London or to wherever the creative capital is. And she goes on to make a lot of friends, but the dilemma that she has is she can only drink blood, and she has this obsession with food, and that's where the title comes from. And she can't eat food, but she has this love affair with food. She like watches YouTube videos of people eating. She wants nothing more that she wants to do than just, maybe drink an iced coffee or some ice cream or cake or, some plum stuffed whatever, and sashimi and sushi, and she can have none of it. She also doesn't see the world that she exists in is this world of artists, and she doesn't see these people as her sustenance. So she can't eat them. She can't feed off them because they're part of her community. So she's in this dilemma. Harvesting pig blood in London is a little tougher than she imagined. And she goes through this, we go through all of this with her. It's a really great, well-paced book. And she opens your eyes to a lot of things. She's also a multicultural individual. She is mixed race. So all these issues of today, loneliness, racism, body issues, misogyny, are all discussed in here. And they are all sort of front and center, but she's not beating you up. The plot on this, the thing about this novel is there's so much in it. It's gonna be a great book club book. But you can read it like a lot of things. You can read it on the surface and run right through it, or you can read it with a pencil and see what she's doing. So it's a really amazing novel. You see that it's best book of 2022. A lot of people recommended it. Lit Hub, Harper's Bazaar, Glamour, everybody. And at the bottom, I put the Ruth Ozeki quote. I'm just going to read that real quickly. Absolutely, because I know we have some Ruth Ozeki fans with us, Tom. Absolutely brilliant, tragic, funny, eccentric, and so perfectly suited to its particularly weird time. Claire Coda takes the vampire trope and makes it her own in a way that feels fresh and original. Serious issues of race, disability, misogyny, body image, sexual abuse are handled with subtlety, insight, and a lightness of touch. The spell this novel casts is so complete, I feel utterly and happily bitten. So there's that.
Sounds awesome.
It sounds so good. Love the cover.
Yeah, it's everything about this book. I think it comes from our Harper Via imprint.
Okay.
Did I stop sharing? Yeah.
No, I did.
Harper Via imprint, which is our works in translation, and we bring things from abroad. And think of like Andrea's Europa line.
Right.
Some really good stuff coming out of there. Though. Just Icelandic, Australian, Aboriginal people writing about Australia, and I mean it's just coming from everywhere. This is British, but really just they're finding some really great stuff. This was I
love a good I love a good witch book. I love a good vampire book. So I can't wait for that one. That's tomorrow.
All these on sale tomorrow.
Oh, okay, perfect. And our Amanda saying being a vampire is the ultimate in dietary restrictions. Yeah,
Good.
I guess. All right, Amanda B, you are up.
Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Oh, I did unmute myself. Good. All righty then. So here we go. My first book, again, all of these are out tomorrow. So I have Atomic Anna, which is a story set over 3 generations of one family. So in 1986, renowned nuclear scientist Anna is sleeping in her bed in the Soviet Union when Chernobyl melts. At that exact moment, she tears through time. It's an accidental time travel, but when she wakes up, she's in 1992, only to discover her daughter, Molly, has been shot in the chest. And with her dying breath, Molly begs her to go back into time and stop the disaster, and to save Molly's daughter and to help put their family on the better path. So that is one part of the story. And then we're also going to be in the 1960s in Philadelphia with Anna's daughter, Molly, and her coming of age and all of the dark family secrets that her family refuses to share. She begins writing her own comic book, or she finds in this comic book and drawing her own series called Atomic Anna. And she really is determined to make it as an artist. Then she meets the charismatic Victor, and a romance blossoms there. And then the third part is set in the 1980s with Molly's daughter, Raisa, who is a lonely teen and a math prodigy, and is very quiet, kind of shy, until the handsome boy moves in across the street. And then an old woman shows up and claims that she is her biological grandmother. During this time, Raisa finds old issues of Atomic Anna in unexpected places, and each one has a challenge that she's got to figure out, which ultimately leads to her to know about time travel. And so then she's got to figure out what she's got to do as well. So fun, enjoyable read. I always love a little bit of time travel and getting to see 3 generations of the same family. And they're going to try and go back in and change time, and hopefully their goal is to prevent Chernobyl.
I love a little time travel too. There's been a few of them out over the past couple of years that have done it really well. And but this one seems like it's got, like you said, the family stuff with the time travel with different time periods too. So it's like it's got a little bit of all of it.
A little bit of everything. And I always like a good family story of 3-generation women. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah.
So
I just read one that's coming out read a bound manuscript of a witch story that's got the 3 it's really good. But I love it. And Kim DeVoe joined us. Hello,
Yeah.
Kim. We love having
Hello.
Kim. All right. What do you got for us this week?
Okay, am I next? Okay.
You're next.
My first book, is Freezing Order by Bill Browder. Bill Browder's first book, Red Notice, was a huge bestseller. And my first book today is its sequel. It's nonfiction and it's incredibly timely. Bill Browder is an American-born British financier who was the largest private investor in Russia until his expulsion in 2005. He ran a hedge fund there, which made money, a lot of money, by investing in Russian companies and then exposing theft and corruption within them. And in 1997, his hedge fund was the best performing fund in the world. But his exposure of rampant corruption upset a lot of Russian officials and oligarchs who are obviously benefiting and the perpetrators, including Putin. And Browder's lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, was tortured and killed in a prison cell in 2009. Browder's first book, Red Notice, detailed these events, and his new book, Freezing Order, continues the story of Browder's relentless efforts to go after Magnitsky's killers. It's just mind-blowing, with international conspiracies, hidden rings of power and corruption, so many assassinations, epic legal battles, and billions of dollars of stolen money, winding its way from Russian banks to Baltic countries like Moldova and Latvia, then on to Swiss and EU banks, and eventually to America, where it is kept in US banks and real estate, or used to buy things like yachts and private jets. Browder's efforts eventually led to the passage of the Global Magnitsky Act, which allows the US to sanction human rights offenders worldwide by freezing their assets and banning them from entering the country, as we are now doing in response to Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. The bravery of all the people involved in exposing Russia's corruption and human rights abuses is incredibly inspiring. And again, this book could not be more timely. It comes out next week, and Adrian has already ordered 40 copies.
It sounds scary.
Yes.
It's incredible. You can't stop turning the pages. It's just mind-blowing. It's so interesting too. I mean, yeah.
And the
Does it
timing
read?
is-
Does it read sort of like a Eric Larson? It sounds like it reads almost like a
Absolutely. It's
thriller
like
esque, yeah.
it's like a
Larson.
total thriller narrative nonfiction type of thing. I think it's actually
It's-
Red Notice. It's way faster and more exciting, and it's just packed. It's loaded.
Wow.
Oh yeah, sounds like a scary one. I mean, it's like you want to know about this stuff, but then part of you goes, I don't want to know that this stuff is happening. You know,
It's actually so inspiring. I mean, it's not a drag to read.
well, but like you said though, the people's bravery to come out, especially when you're exposing people in Russia, and you know, that's the thing. It's like that takes some serious bravery.
Yeah, and this guy, I mean, read it just for this guy's ability to like network. I mean, he is a maestro at getting things done. It's absolutely mind-blowing how this guy operates.
Incredible.
Wow.
The war has propped up a few books.
Well,
Really,
and it
so-
propped up people's and maybe we all should have been paying more attention before. And maybe we weren't, and now we're all paying attention. And
Right.
and
I'm
these are
sorry.
good.
Let's move on.
Moving on, we'll have Gabe, you and I will have a Zoom later that we can broadcast to everybody, right? What we're really thinking. Okay, Steve.
Okay, well, like Amanda, I have a time travel book, and it's also coming out tomorrow, and it's from Emily St. John Mandel, Sea of Tranquility. If you don't know Emily, you should. She is the author of Station 11. That was her big breakthrough book. She'd written other books before, but that one kind of launched her into the stratosphere. And if you haven't seen the HBO series adaptation, it's very good. They change a few things, but it's very good. And then the next book after that was The Glass Hotel. And this new book, you don't have to have read those other books, but it helps if you have, because it ties in to those other stories. And it's a lot, it's hard to explain a little bit, but it's, I think, Amanda, you said it was 3 different time periods that your book story, well, this also has 3 time periods. And the first is like the turn of the century, well, 1912, I think it is. And this, he's a young man, he's a disgraced, or from a disgraced, he's disgraced himself at a dinner party, and he's banished from his family and from England, and he ends up in Vancouver, which is kind of Emily's, where she used to live, and that a lot of things take place there. And he has this strange encounter. He doesn't know it at the time, but it's with a time traveler, and there's all this different phenomena going on. It's like being in an electrical storm, and it just kind of, it blows his mind. And then she leaves that story, and then she goes, I think it's 100 or 200 years into the future. I think it's 100, and there's been a big global pandemic, and so they've had to colonize the moon. And there's the main character here is a woman. She's an author, and she's on book tour. And there's another pandemic going on, so she's on tour during a pandemic, which is, it's kind of funny in a way. There's, in fact, intentionally, because Emily went through that. And then there's a couple hundred years later, we meet the time traveler, and as he goes back, and of course he's told, don't change a thing, you can't change anything. And of course he changes things. So it's really great. She's been profiled, I think, in this week's New York Times and the New Yorker. She's just really hot right now. And I think it's got some of the best time travel kind of plotting that I've seen. So that's important. There's first editions at Warwick's that are signed and have a special extra chapter in it. So if you want, you might want to get this one early, and pick up those other 2 paperbacks while you're at it, because it really helps.
It helps. And she is a master. I mean, Station 11 was just, if you haven't read that, honest to God, read it. It's, if you're going to go to a backlist book, it's so good. It's so, and she's just really good.
Yeah,
she's very smart and does it really well.
I saw that the creator of the HBO series Station 11 he's going to adapt these other 2 also.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just something to look forward to.
Great news.
I thought it was a really good adaptation.
Yeah.
Oh, Beth Doherty likes to know when editions are signed. So if you guys know that because I sometimes don't know that we have signed editions. So if you guys know that, mention it.
Okay.
If we've got signed stuff in there. And Beth, we do have on our webpage, but I don't know how often we update it. But there is a webpage that I think has what signed editions that we have in stock. But anyways, I digress. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, sharing my screen. So the next book for me is The Return of Faraz Ali. So this is a first novel from Riverhead. She was born in London, but she lives in California. She teaches at San Jose State. And it's the cover review on this week's New York Times Book Review. It's a absolute rave. So it's set in Pakistan primarily in the 60s and 70s, Lahore. The main character, Faraz Ali, is a policeman, sort of middle-level policeman, who is sent back to Lahore, to the walled inner city of Lahore, which is like the red light district, where he was born. So he's forced to go back into a place of his past. And he's sent there basically to cover up the violent death of a young woman. So because things are so corrupt in this time and place, this is just like a regular, this is not a surprise. Most police officers would not be fazed by that. They're like, yeah, go back there and you cover up the murder of this young woman. So it should be an easy situation, but because of his own past and his own history, for the first time in his career, he's unable to follow these simple orders. It's complicated by the fact that the person giving him those orders is his father, his sort of estranged father, who is corrupt. So it's a mystery. It's a history of Pakistan. It takes you back, to the World War II. and a little bit into the 70s. So you really get a real sense of the time and the place and how Pakistan became the way it is, including partition. So it's a mystery, historical thriller, character study, really a beautiful novel. You see there's a quote from Anthony Morris, so definitely, that's a great one. I also think it's for readers. It's the same editor at Riverhead as Mohsin Hamid, so I would say that's kind of the reader too. Or Camilla Shamsi, who Home Fire from a few years ago is one of my favorites. And she gave us a great quote. She said, "A gripping read, everything beautifully evoked from the alleys of the old city to the atmosphere of corruption and secrets. Noir with a heart," which I love, noir with a heart, because it does have that noir kind of feeling, but it's so, it's a modern, version of that. Definitely a book we're going to be hearing, lots of buzz. We're going to be hearing much more about it in the coming weeks and months, I'm sure.
Okay, let me do this. Okay, I was just going to say, I just started Mohsin Hamid's book that's coming out in July.
Oh, The Last White Man.
The Last White Man. And I mean, he's got me from, so yeah, he's amazing. And this kind of reminds me maybe of, oh, there goes Kim's cat. This kind of reminds me of maybe like when the Kite Runner, like, we didn't all know what the Kite Runner,
right,
that place setting and
yeah, that's right. And it's a little bit, it's also like Graham Greene. It's kind of like Graham Greene, but a very, it's a post-colonial Graham Greene maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, sounds fascinating. Sounds really,
fun.
because I don't know. I mean, Pakistan's one of those that it's like, there again, maybe we should be paying more attention, and we're not.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, Gabe, what do you got?
My next book is another winner, because that's all I have this week.
Winner, chicken dinner.
And for the first to call in, this is a novel that been wanting to talk about. It is about au pairs. It is a novel about caretakers, and it is a novel of a young woman who comes to Paris and is an au pair, and excuse me, and she baby dies on her watch, and it explodes. This whole neighborhood just blows up. Some people blaming her, some people blaming the mother, who's rather absent, not terribly involved in the kids' lives. And the book is caught up with resolving ultimately who's responsible for the child's death, but also the back and forth and the character studies. There's a couple of four of the women who watch the kids on the block. One of them who's recently been fired by one of the neighbors. There's a mom, another mom, the mom of the kid that dies. But there's another mom who sort of we get a little look at her closer. And she's a little bit withdrawn and what's going on there. And then there's an unhappy teenager. So it's this really diverse group of women and how they interact with one another in the middle of this crisis. It's really interesting. It's I think another one of these books that looks, I think has a very commercial element to it, but also a really smart read. So give it a shot. I think we've got a really, as always, interesting package on this book. We got a really great quote from Elizabeth McCracken, and the reviews have been pretty strong so far up front. It is something that's a little bit different. It's not the same old thing. And there's a really, it's one of these books that's actually even a pleasure to read. It's a lot of fun. There's just a lot of positives going on in this book. So pick it up. You'll sit down on save it for a Saturday. You'll knock half of it off in the afternoon before you put it down.
I've been seeing that book everywhere, Gabe. It's like all over. Every bookstagrammer that's out there is all about this book.
There's a lot of buzz on this book. Amanda Bester Siegel. So yeah, we're I think in a really lucky situation. I was, just a lot of really Laura Day. I put a Laura Day put up there, who's very hot.
Once again, and not that it has Paris in the title, but that never hurts. That it takes. It don't hurt.
You get that feeling from the cover. It's Paris.
It's Paris, and there's something about those Paris books that. I've been seeing it everywhere. everybody's buzzing about that one. Okay, Amanda, what do you got for us next? Okay. And okay, wait, before we get to you, Amanda. So Kim and Amanda are in the background talking about what they coined noir with heart. If you guys think that I can pronounce a French word, you're nuts. So I'm not even going to try. So just saying. So Amanda B, it's your turn.
All right, here we go. So my next book I have from local author, Christopher Reich. And so for this book, we have Once a Thief. So Simon Risk sits in the sun-draped Napa Valley, toasting the record $100 million sale of a rare 1963 Ferrari, which he restored himself. The buyer, a sophisticated Frenchwoman, Sylvia, has purchased the car for an unnamed client whose anonymity she will guard at all costs. Risk enjoys her company and the flowing champagne until Sylvia's Russian bodyguard storms in, claiming that the vehicle is a fake. Risk is given an ultimatum: prove the car is real or else. So Simon strives to prove the Ferrari's authenticity and look deeper into Sylvia's past and the identity of her client. He crosses paths with Anna and discovers that they have an enemy in common. From the bustling streets of London to the secret outpost high in the French Alps, from the free ports of Corsica to the glittering beaches of the Emerald Coast of Sardinia, Risk and Anna find themselves players in a deadly game where billions of dollars change hands and knowledge is paid for with your life. Woo! I like it.
Lots going on there.
Fast pace.
Fast paced, action packed, can't go wrong. And you're globetrotting. I always
Yeah, I love the jet setting.
Globetrotting going on.
And
I
Chris
love
Reich,
that.
I mean, we love Chris Reich. He lives here in Encinitas. He just lives right like next little town over from me in Encinitas. And he does have a little bit of an obsession with Ferraris. So that is where that little thing, because we posted it up to, it looks like he has a personal, I don't know if he's got what kind of collection he has, but he definitely loves his Ferrari. So I love that. Love our Chris. All right, Kim.
Okay. Okay, my second book is, can you see that? Is
yeah.
Bomb Shelter, Love, Time, and Other Explosives by Mary Laura Philpott, who wrote I Miss You When You Blink, and it comes out next week. Bomb Shelter is a memoir in the form of a series of personal essays that examine various events in her life, from childhood through menopause and elevated cholesterol levels. Philpott examines the overlap of the absurd and the profound in everyday life, and she is equal parts anxious and optimistic. Her essays describe the difficulty of figuring out a pet turtle's gender, alongside the terrifying experience of her teenage son's first grand mal seizure and the ensuing confusion of tests and treatment that followed. Her father's unusual college care packages, consisting of canned goods, are a mystery until years later when she learns of his secret role at Camp David, protecting the president in the 1970s. Filled with humor and hope, this book is a treasure. And if you like Nora Ephron, Elizabeth Gilbert, Irma Bonbeck, you'll love this book.
That's another one that's been really highly anticipated because everybody loved When You Blink, I Miss You or something like that. I can't remember the title. That was one title that I always messed up.
Yeah.
But, she was actually the host. She did the interview that we did with Todd Dowdy when he had Little Pieces of Hope.
Nice.
Yeah, love
Nice.
Todd. And so she did the interview, and so she was talking about how Todd was talking about this when it was coming out. So
great. Yeah.
okay, before we get Steve to you to the lightning round, we have a challenge from Beth for our next like when we have like a theme. So Beth Johnson is asking us if 1 week we could hear from you all about books that we might have missed for some reason. Maybe a book just didn't get the audience, but it deserves to be read.
Oh,
So
I love that. Yes.
yeah, we
So
might
many.
need to, because I think there is, I mean, I can think of some that just kind of were so good, but just for whatever reason, just didn't quite get the attention. So
Do we want to do the
Maybe
80s, the 90s, the aughts? and the
I know.
tens?
Could
Yeah.
be.
could be anything. So I
I
think
was in life
maybe,
for half of the 80s, so
what were you gonna say, Steve?
I was going to say there were a lot of good books that came out at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
that
Just missed.
didn't get anything.
Yeah.
that's
That
that's
just-
the one. Yep,
Yeah.
definitely,
So
definitely.
I think maybe because we know that the first week of the month is packed with a lot of good releases. So maybe we do this like a third or fourth week of the month when things are a little bit slower. Maybe we pick a theme and we do that. So
That's great.
we're hearing you, Beth. All right, lightning round. Let's go, Steve.
Bing.
Okay, lightning round. Also out tomorrow is In on the Joke. This is the original queens of stand-up comedy. Sean Levy is the author, and he's really a great teller of Hollywood tales. And he did a wonderful book on the Chateau Marmont. The name is just, Castle on Sunset, of course.
Okay, there you go.
That came out a few years ago. And no one's ever done this, a book that really talks about women who broke through, the Elizabeth Zotts of the comedy world, the Mrs. Maisels. And it's, people like Toadie Fields, if you remember her, and Minnie Pearl, Phyllis Diller, Elaine May, partner of
Mike Nichols.
Thank you.
Wait, we got a Mike Nichols one.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve.
Not a week goes by.
Not a week goes
Yeah, we had to
by.
get that in.
2 degrees of separation.
It's just a really good telling of all these women who broke through, and very entertaining. So that's
Sounds
In
fun.
on the Joke.
Okay, it's a good one. Because sometimes you need something that's uplifting and doesn't
Yeah.
bring. I love it. Okay, Tom.
Okay, so now my last book is The Last Baron. So this is true crime. And Tom Sankton, we published a book called The Betancourt Affair a few years ago, which sold really well, got great reviews. It was an NPR Best Book of the Year. He's like just a good old-fashioned reporter. So, and he covered Paris for Time Magazine for a period of time. So this is a story I'd never heard of. So to me, it was kind of a reminder that, some of the big news that we have each day will be this was in the 70s. So in 50 years, that big news from today will be completely forgotten, even though this was front page news. Everyone around the world was talking about it. So this was a kidnapping of a French industrialist who was an heir to this great family. His grandfather was the first baron, and his grandfather built the Paris metro. So you've got this whole. So he tells the story of that, of the family. So you're looking at the French, in the Belle Epoque, and then into the 1970s in high fashion Paris. But Watteau, that was the nickname of this baron. He described himself as a master of the universe, of course. He was kidnapped, and it was during the time of the Patty Hearst kidnapping. So there was a lot of, this was happening, social unrest. So a lot of the strains in society that we feel now were happening then. So it's just a really well-told, edge of your seat kind of true crime narrative. And again, France, Paris, the Paris metro, this kidnapping that you've never heard of. Who could resist? So I think this is going to be a great book. A lot of places. It's going to be a really great book of Warwick's.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's definitely got a Warwick's feel to it. And I mean, isn't it weird to think back? We think that we're living through the most tumultuous times until you start looking back at some of the documentaries of like the 60s and some of the stuff that was going on back then, which was just, people were getting kidnapped and assassinated. And it's just
yes.
Planes are getting hijacked,
Yeah, right.
yeah. And so it's just like, there was some crazy stuff going on. Not that it's not crazy now. Not that we want to go back to those. It's a little nuts, but that one looks good. All right, Gabe.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen, finish up real quickly as I do. Mrs. England by Stacey Halls. Stacey Halls wrote her first novel, The Familiars, was this really atmospheric novel. It was like up for the British Book Prize Award for debut novel. It was like the Waterstones pick of the year. It was just got a ton of attention. Published another novel, second novel, right in the middle of the pandemic that we may look at next time we talk. But this is Mrs. England, and this is a book that is the kind of book that it's kind of like My Cousin Rachel. It's got a little Daphne du Maurier, super atmospheric. It's 1904. Young Ruby May has her family that she's been a nanny for a family, and they're moving to the United States. So she's kind of left high and dry. She takes a job in West Yorkshire and working for a family, and the Englands, and Charles, very charming, very enigmatic, very helpful, loves his children to death, and this really vivacious man. And then his wife Lillian, who doesn't seem like she's all there, like she's suffering from something. So we don't know what's wrong with her. She's distant, doesn't spend a lot of time with the kids. Our young protagonist Ruby begins to feel there's something not quite right here. And she's becomes indispensable, tries to become indispensable to the family. And she does really for Charles. She helps him out a lot. But by the same token, she alienates the rest of the staff. So she's kind of floating by herself in this real creepy kind of a world where the lady of the house is a little not there, not very present. She's got 4 kids that she's taking care of. And as things seem to get a little darker as she goes along, and she starts noticing more things, she starts harkening back on her life. And not all families are perfect, and hers was one of those that wasn't very perfect. And things start coming out about her life, and she doesn't want history to repeat itself. So there's a kind of like a double mystery going on here. I think Stacey does a really good job of handling the plot and just immersing you in this, this like swamp of atmosphere. It's really quite a strong novel. So we're excited to be publishing this. And it's, if you like Downton, if you like Daphne du Maurier, Gothic things like that, I think you'll come to Mrs. England.
Sounds perfect. Sounds really like it's nailed that that atmosphere, like you said, du Maurier. Yeah.
She did a really good job.
Yeah.
Strong author, Stacey.
Love it. Okay, Amanda.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
Oh.
So, I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
And it counts.
Yes. Okay, so this is technically out in paperback tomorrow, but I have to talk about Clanland because I love Clanlands. I love Men in Kilts, and I love me some Outlander. So here we go, out in paperback tomorrow. If you have not seen Men in Kilts, you must watch Men in Kilts. There is going to be a season 2. I read that somewhere, so I am super excited. I am very sad because I had a beautiful trip planned for the Scottish Highlands in March of 2020 that never came to be. And so I still have dreams of drinking my scotch in the Scottish Highlands. So one day I'll get back there. But until then, anything and anything you want to know about Scotland, here you go. So super excited. Sam and Graham on their adventures is just great. Their banter is amazing. They're funny, they're lovable, and just listening to them talk is amazing. I mean, come on now. So there you go, Clanlands from Sam Hewen and Graham McTavish in paperback tomorrow.
And Beth Johnson says that she thought that was terrific, and she actually listened to it on audio. So that would be such a great book on audio.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I would totally. Now I'm gonna have to go try and track down the audio because I need to listen.
Yeah, because it's one thing reading about them, but hearing them talk is just like it adds that extra little something to it. So, I love that.
Yeah, Sam Hewen actually read it was a collection of short stories for the Shadow Hunter series that I listened to. And like, this was like this was like 5 or 6 years ago, like with like the first season of Outlander. And it was amazing just to listen to him speak in this. It was like a collection of short stories. He did one short story in that one.
Yeah.
So
And
it was
we
just beautiful
could
listening to him.
have a whole tea time just about Jamie. So in Outlander. So yeah,
we really could.
Yeah.
I'm
so,
down for that.
Yeah, we might have to digress to that one day. Anyways, okay, Kim, take it home.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna listen to that.
I know it sounds like I think that's like Beth. Thank you for the tip on the audio.
Okay, my quick pick is The Golden Couple by Greer Hendrickson, Sarah Pekkanen, who've written several thrillers, including The Wife Between Us and An Anonymous Girl. The Golden Couple is a psychological thriller about a Ken and Barbie golden couple who are having marital problems due to the wife's infidelity with her husband's best friend. They enlist the help of an unconventional therapist who is actually thrown out of her professional society, and lots of intrigue and shenanigans ensue. This is another fun thriller involving the young, wealthy, and beautiful. Plus, there's a therapist character. And if you like these, it's a good one. And it's actually a really good audiobook. I listened to it back in February.
Awesome.
Fun.
Love it. That's another one that there's a lot of buzz out there on that one because I've seen that one all over the place too. When is that one coming out tomorrow? Sorry,
It's already out.
It's out. Okay.
Yeah, it's been out a little while. People are liking it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that one a lot. Okay, I'm going to close out with we're bringing back in-person events are going to hit hot and heavy here at Warwick starting not this week, next week. I think we have 3 in store. Yeah. And then the following week, we've got Grant Ginder coming, and I love Grant Ginder. And so we're also launching our Booked for Lunch. So if you are in San Diego, we're going to have lunch with him. I believe it's going to be at the La Jolla Country Club. So there's information on the website on how to make reservations for that. But then that night he will be at the store. He's so funny. He's so smart. If he's just a hoot, if you want to follow him on Twitter, but his book, Let's Not Do That Again, is coming out tomorrow. And it is politics. Speaking of France, politician's daughter goes to France, does some things that are not so great, gets the politician in trouble. I mean, it's just biting. It's witty. The humor he has is just like spot on. So if you're looking for a little escapist reading, but Let's Not Do That Again, Grant Ginder. So, whew, that was a lot of good books. That was a lot of good books.
So
You guys all have a lot of, everybody's watching this has got a lot of hopefully have a lot of reading here. Oh, let's see, Beth Beth Doherty just started reading Good Rich People. Beth, it's bonkers.
Agrees with the bonkers.
It is just like that book is completely out there, but in such a good way. I loved it. I loved everything about it. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Reps, for joining us again, and Kim, and we'll see everybody next week. Happy reading. Bye, everybody.